Good morning and welcome to those of you who are new and joining us for our Waymakers conversation. We are in our second live session, so bear with us as we work out the kinks and get our flow and our what we called morning jam the other day going. Today, we wanted to give you a chance to get to know each of the Waymakers a little bit better again, if you were joining us on Monday. But today we're going to start to talk about mindset. Each of us has come to this group through a lot of mentors and a lot of work. We've each had really a lot of experience in breaking through paradigms, in raising our vibration, in changing our mindset into a mindset of abundance and joy and prosperity. And we are looking forward to sharing that with you. And so today, you're going to get a chance to meet each of us and hear a few highlights from our journeys. Our theme really this month is about our own journeys. We are the Waymakers, which means that we help each other light a path to a better life and to a life of prosperity and joy and abundance and happiness. So with that, I am going to hand off the mic to Monty Collier, who is Monty Maurice Collier, and he's going to talk a little bit about his experience. Monty's been through a lot of lessons in his life, but has had the privilege of meeting and being friends with Bob Proctor. So he's going to share a little bit about that and how he changed his mindset and changed his life. Monty.
Good morning, friends all over the globe. Welcome to the Waymakers. Good morning, colleagues again. And good morning, Terry Bird. Nice to have you here. I do want to share some things. Good morning, Shannon. Good morning. So first and foremost, I want to give gratitude to just everything good. I want to be conscious of my gratitude and how thankful I am for not just for waking up every day in this mindset and in this higher frequency thinking, but just for every lesson, like Jenna said, I want to be mindful to tell source, God, universe, higher power, Buddha, Allah, Jehovah, whoever you speak to, whoever your source is. I believe they're all the same. That's my personal opinion. All goodness is goodness. Everything is energy. And I learned that. That's something I learned. I also learned what the law of attraction is. And I learned that when I was young, unconscious, and I do believe I'm still somewhat unconscious. I think awareness comes as you go, and so we're moving forward and going. But I think that when I was younger, I did have a lot of issues that were given to me by life and by other people's, I don't know, the way that people care for you and they impress their teachings and learnings and experiences on you. My personal experiences, just from being born, I think I inherited a lot of poor qualities. I had a poverty mindset. I was ashamed. I think that sometimes I still have a residue of thinking about money and being concerned and worried about money instead of being aware of my higher powers and knowing that I'm God's highest form of creation. And so there's nothing that I can't obtain, with the right thought process and plan. So when we begin to speak about yesteryear and today, for me personally, there's a lot, so I could trip over my words. I want to make something very clear, and that is that when you flip a switch, you learn something and you can't unlearn it. So when I learned that I was worthy, when I learned that I am enough, when I learned that I could start where I was and change everything, everything. I learned these things, and I guess we know in learning there comes understanding, there comes curiosity. Well, there comes the curiosity and then the understanding. And I think that along the process, I learned that I guess I just learned my secret. And I'm trying not to talk about Bob, but it's like he's everywhere. Even today, like he's on my spiritual council. He sits at the highest seat on my spiritual council because everything that I am today as a professional, all of the clarity that I have, all of the ingredients that I have come from being able to study with this man, this great energy that like me, he went from illiteracy, like he was a functioning illiterate like myself, and rest in heaven, Bob. And when he said that, and I was in the audience, it resonated with me so much because I'm currently writing a book, and I've been writing it for years, and I literally have become who I'm supposed to be, and I'm still in the throes of becoming the greatest version of that. But the ingredients, the knowing, the knowledge, the information, the learning, the repetition of greatness, of just getting all the right information to be able to navigate your life, to change your settings. I mean, there's so much I could talk about. Like I could be all over the place, you guys, because I went from being an afraid, unconscious worry. I worried about everything. I worried about bills. I worried about where I'd be 5 years ahead. And what Bob taught me to do, and what this information that he teaches, and the information that brought us all together on this panel, what he teaches is that, you know, or what he taught me is that not only can I do anything I want, but let me just take a minute, guys. So Bob passed in February, and so we can say Bob is our mentor and stuff, but like he was really my friend. And so this is new, speaking about him in past tense. And so I keep having these thoughts, and usually I would say they're intrusive, but they're welcoming, because I just thought of a good time when Bob congratulated me when I became a consultant, when I got my certification. And he said, Monty, he said, you know, when we met, you told me you had a few screws loose. And he says, do you remember what I told you? And I said, yeah, you told me that you could help me screw them in. And so I guess that, you know, this is the way I share. So I'm going to pass to Mariposa to Celine.
Thank you, Monty. I know it's very touching. Like we were all touched by Bob in so many ways, so many different methods, right? Whether you met him in person or online. Like I didn't have the privilege of meeting him in person because I joined right in the middle when COVID started in 2020. What got me into the material was I had just left corporate America. I just retired from the bank. I wrote my book because I said, this is a perfect time. Everything shut down. I have time to write my book. I hired a coach, Chris Colley. She helped me to write the book in like 2 weeks, like really fast. And then I launched my program. Like I had my program, I had my book, I was now a coach. And then I was like, I don't know anything about what I'm doing. Like I need support. But so I started looking for somewhere to be certified because I knew I had to be certified as a coach. And through some friends and law of attraction, I attracted Bob. I listened to a few of his sessions. And just the way that he was teaching, his spirit touched mine. And I said, you know, it would be great to, this is part of what I want to do. This is part of my coaching. It's part of, it's 99% mindset, right? Our success is 99% mindset. And my belief is 1% strategy. So I needed to go back and reconnect myself to my higher calling, to my source, right? I feel like I'm on my 4th life in this lifetime of mine. I mean, I've gone through so many changes and shifts, and what's really helped me the most was connecting to my higher power, connecting to divinity, to what is my higher purpose, my higher calling. And that's really what's kept me going throughout my life and the different chapters that I've been in. And you know, I was just coming out of a divorce at the time, and I just really needed to find myself because, you know, when you're in abuse or you're suppressed and you are not expressing, just like I wasn't expressing myself, I wasn't being who I knew I wanted to be, and I felt limited. And not because of the external world. Yes, in my mind, it was the external world, but really it was me. I was limiting myself. I kept reliving and believing old patterns, old stories, old beliefs from childhood, right? Because we know we're programmed up until the time we're 6, 7, when we get a consciousness, we're just programmed by our surroundings, our family, our friends. We just accept everything as truth. And if you come from a toxic environment, a dysfunctional family, whatever that is to you, you absorb it as a child, right? And so we have almost the whole rest of our lives to undo that. And the sooner we get started, the more successful we're going to be, right? Because we can be free to be ourselves. We can be free to do the things we love. We can really embrace our uniqueness. Instead of trying to be like everyone else, right? When we try to be like everyone else, we lose ourselves. And so I connected back to my passions and discovering myself, who I really was and what I really wanted to do. But Bob taught me a lot about awakening, right? And breaking out of paradigms and subconscious beliefs. My book, and I talked a lot about visualization, raising your vibrations. Like I knew enough about our vibrations. And that's what's really got me started on this journey, is just raising my vibration. Because, you know, my book is titled Live Your Best Life, How to Go From Surviving to Thriving. And so I was surviving. I was in survival mode. And I started raising my vibrations about 2017 is when I started being aware of vibrations and where I was down. You know, I was vibing very low, and I was in toxicity all around, inside and out. So I started raising my vibrations, started releasing some of that, and really started unfolding and really living the life that I really wanted. I took control of my environment, not by taking control externally, because that's what I tried to do. I went inwards. And I started changing the insides of my thinking, my feelings, my programs, and started changing all of that for the better. And so I started raising my vibrations. And that's what really has gotten me through most of my life, is connecting to spirit, spirituality, and visualization. Visualizing what I really wanted. As a child, I allowed myself to accept something better for myself. And I got that in the physical world, right? Financially, I got a master's degree in business. You know, I was very successful professionally, but I didn't look at the internal, you know, the inside, the within. And so that's the part that I've been working on the last, you know, five years, is really focusing on me, doing the inner work that's necessary to release my potential, to release myself to the life that I love. And, you know, one of the things is travel. You know, I got all the things financial, but then I also said, you know, I want to travel. And I was gonna wait till I was till I retired, 6, 7 and a half. I'm like, no, I don't have to wait till then. I could do it now, right? I accepted that for myself. And so now I'm traveling and I'm living by the beach. Same thing. I said, oh, when I retire, I'll live by the beach. No, I can have that now, right? And so I said, I'm gonna go for it. I'm just gonna move and to the beach and live there. And this is why you see my background. I love the beach. It's where I feel the highest vibration. Nature has the highest vibrations, and the ocean and water has some of the highest. So when you surround yourself and you raise your vibrations by your external environment, but also inward, like your whole life begins to shift. And a lot of it is so many methods to raise your vibrations. And we're going to talk about this throughout the show. And so I'm super excited. Bob taught me a lot about awakening, and it's continual, right? It's a process of being consciously awake and aware of where we are, who we are, and what we're here to give. And to shift our external environment, we have to shift within. So with that, I'm going to pass it on to Milan so he can share some of his story.
Thanks, Mariposa. Yes, it's always me listening to you. I'm thinking like, why is she saying my story? And it's just like this overlap of, it's really because we're all saying yes to ourselves at some point and, choosing to be uncommon. And really after I broke my neck, that was when I was at my most uncommon. And, I thought that I didn't fit in for most of my life. And was trying to purposely make myself fit in to certain groups. But, by the time my injury happened when I was 17, I realized that like me purposely making myself like other people had just buried me underneath just, a lot of heaviness and sadness and depression and anger and really just confusion about, well, who am I then? And, oddly enough, breaking my neck was the catalyst to all the new self-discovery that I would exhibit throughout my adult life. Because, I couldn't hide the wheelchair. You can hide other feelings. You can insert yourself into other groups and you can pretend that your story is not your story. But with the wheelchair, I couldn't pretend. There's no denying it and saying, no, that's not a wheelchair. You don't know what you're talking about. But, it obviously was. And that was really a catalyst for me to, be my honest self and to say yes to myself. And, when my injury happened in 2000, the internet was not nearly as great as it is now. So I couldn't just, go onto YouTube or go on to, a Zoom call or something like that to, expand myself. So really, like Celine was saying, I had to go within and really just started to talk to myself and honestly just take a step back. And because I really believe that it's not just important to live your true life, but it's also important to observe your life. And I spent a couple of years, at least 5 years, I think, post-injury, just observing, like, how did I get here? What decisions did I make to get to this place? Why am I feeling this? Why did I deny my true feelings? Where did the anger come from? And really just took that time to just self-examine. And once I became aware of it all and, went to those places where it was uncomfortable, I started to hear new solutions. And I started to hear an inner voice whispering to me and guiding me to move forward, to even say certain things like, just, hey, tell your dad that you love him. And I'm like, I don't want to, because that I had fractured that relationship because of choices that I was making. And it was, no fault of his. It was all my internal struggle. But really, saying yes to those prompts and listening to those prompts and listening to that inner voice and that guidance was really, my guiding light to get out of that pit. And gradually, saying yes to myself, listening to those prompts, the heaviness just started to disappear. And my joy came back and my relationships became mended. And I started to say yes to myself in other ways and to just really choose to be uncommon on purpose because it was true for me. And, I'm a firm believer that, the Bible is a real practical manual. And it let me know that, I'm made specifically this way for a specific reason. And I should embrace that and do that on purpose. And it really became a self-love journey. And as I, said yes to myself and my hair and my skin and, my history and everything in the family that I had, other things started to open up as well. And new ideas started to come up that I never thought I would have. And, I was 17 thinking, okay, well, I'm going to finish high school soon. What am I going to do in college? And the only things that I liked were girls and clothes. I'm just like, well, how can I make these into something? But embracing that and going to school and say, okay, I'm going to study fashion design. And that was pretty uncommon. I didn't know any other people that were doing that, but saying yes to that really opened up doors to more things and to more people that, shared those same interests. And then, saying yes to myself again and joining my fraternity, and that opened up my world a little bit more. So it was really a bit by bit saying yes to myself, listening to those voices and listening to those desires, and, using those desires as things to be fulfilled, not things to just say, oh, it'd be nice one day. Kind of like with, Mariposa saying like, oh, it'd be nice if I retired by the beach. Like, no, I can have what, my desires now. These desires are meant to be fulfilled now. And doing that over and over led me to, more information and then more books, and really just, well, how can I use this power? How can I make these ideas of self-development and vibration and energy and even God, how can I make it useful for me? And it really came down to just like listening to myself over and over, taking those suggestions and moving forward. And that's what brought me to more information and to more books, and more opportunities would just show up. And it was definitely challenging and uncomfortable, but I learned that, the uncomfortable feeling wasn't because the next step was wrong. It was just because the next step was new. And I learned to, like the Marines say, embrace the suck, which is, know that it's not always going to be smooth sailing. And that's fine, because like I've learned so much by going through what seemed difficult. And especially, I never thought that my injury would last so long and I would be in a wheelchair for so long, but persevering through that, I was able to learn so much more about myself. And it really allowed me to search for, information like this. Like, what can I practically do if my body's not working? Well, I can control my thoughts and I can control my words. And that's a huge part. The story that I tell myself, about my challenges, the story I tell myself about my family, the story I tell myself about my goals, really was the catalyst to open up, a new power. Because when I controlled the story, I controlled how I felt. And your feelings are definitely directly tied to your expectations and your life and your happiness. And as I, controlled those, then I control my words, then I could see, oh, well, I can actually move things this way and move things that way, and, propel myself into the situations that were more ideal. And just doing it over and over, I eventually got to the place like, with Celine, where I was like, I'm going to write a book. I have all this information. I have this personal journey, and, wrote my book of just, these quotes, these one-liners, these ideas that really catapulted me forward. And, like all the other ones previous, that led me to another thing and another thing. And eventually, when the internet got awesome, then other opportunities were readily available. And I started to really deep dive into information like this. It's really, and that took it from an idea that I had of, okay, I want this, to I can have this. I can have these things because of this information, because of these laws, because of the power that exists, and which is my birthright. And accepting that has really been the catalyst to move me forward. And it opened up opportunities and gave me a confidence and a power and a boldness that I didn't think that I could have while still using the wheelchair. And it allowed me to just, move past my circumstance, move past the visual, into a place where I could really bring my desires to me as I'm moving towards them. And, that led me to this and that. And now I'm one of the Waymakers. And now I have this global influence and global impact. And it all started because I just chose to say yes to myself and listen to those inner prompts that were there all along. And listen, as soon as I started to listen to them on a regular basis, my life just got so much better and so much happier. And it's, you know, I feel like I'm a completely different person looking back at who I used to be. And it's just awesome. And with that, I'm gonna hand it over to Kat to so she can expound on her greatness.
Thank you, Milan. I always love coming after you, although it's really tough because you're such a great speaker. But I'm going to go back to my childhood, and I'm going to talk about paradigms and the lies that I believed about myself, starting from the beginning. I really had a wonderful, wonderful childhood, great parents, and a wonderful, loving home. So I really, really was fortunate, and I'm still fortunate. The things as I was growing up that I believed about myself was that I was not smart enough, although I was, and that I was too fat, although I wasn't. And so I had these things that I carried around with me. And so growing up as a teenager, and this is so I'm bringing this up because it's such a common theme among young girls that seem to apparently have it all, eating disorders. So yes, I did have an eating disorder as a teenager. And it was a big secret because back then in the 70s, yes, in the 70s, it wasn't a thing. Nobody knew what it was. So it was a big secret. And I kept that hidden from everybody. And I thought I was crazy. And I thought that there was something wrong with me and nobody talked about it. And this is something I hope to talk more about as we go on. So other than that, which was really huge, it's like being a drug addict, hidden. And this went on until I was about 20, from about 13 to 20. So that was my formative years. So I had this feeling that I wasn't worthy and wasn't good enough. And then I had this big secret that kind of defined me. And I finally, somebody said to me one day, they brought up something about an eating disorder because she was on to me. And I'm like, oh my God, I just like went white. And I thought, oh, I can't be labeled that. And I cured myself. And it was a journey. And I realized then the power that I had within myself at that point, that if I could overcome this, which I'm telling you, I've never been on drugs, but overcoming that behavior was like probably overcoming something like a heroin addiction. It was not easy. And so I'm speaking for all the young girls out there that are the most innocent victims of this disorder because of societal norms and expectations of them. And they come from seemingly happy families where they have it all. And there's this little secret that people don't talk about. So that is something that I just wanted to share with y'all. I've shared it a little bit, I'm sharing it more, but so that was part of my paradigm growing up, is that I had to have this image. And I finally gave it up about, like I said, about the age of 20. It's like, no, this is done. And I'm just going to be me and who I am. And I still had this thing that I wasn't quite good enough or smart enough. And that paradigm carried on with me for several years. And I did go on and have a really good career in banking with Celine, where I met Celine. And so this is years later. So I had kind of forgot, I stuffed it down and just I vowed to never speak about these things again. I was not going to be that girl or that one. This is not something I'm going to talk about. But so fast forward, I got married, had children, lost my husband after being with him almost 20 years. So, and this was 20 years ago, and had to reinvent myself. So I had like Celine talking about having several lives. Yes, I've had a lot of startovers. And then I remarried and just got a divorce a year ago. So here I am now at 60, and I'm going through this Bob Proctor material, thinking into results. And I've had so many aha moments. And one of them is that paradigm shift that, we are fed so much garbage along the way as we're growing up about how we need to look, how we need to be, how, if you don't fit into this or do well on this test, that you're not smart enough, or you're not good enough, or you're not this or that, you're labeled. And not that I was ever labeled not smart, I wasn't labeled smart either. So I had this belief about myself because I have some very smart friends, and I just didn't think I was at that caliber. And you know what? The good news is, after getting a divorce recently, a little over a year now, and studying Bob Proctor and some of the other mentors out there, I've learned that I am all that and so much more. I have learned to really love the woman I am. I am awesome. I am a get up, dust myself off, and let's get going. Let's not dwell on this. What that shit that happened and is done. Nobody's fault. Nobody's, I don't blame anybody. It just is something that happened. And my paradigm now is that I can do it. I can do it all. I can have it all. The other thing, studying this, I've always been a goal person. Let's climb the mountain. Let's ride that bike 500 miles. Let's do this. I've always been a goal person, and studying the material, I see, we know the A goal, the B goal, and the C goal. And, so the A goal is something that you can do. The B goal is something that you're pretty sure you could do. And the C goal is something that you have no freaking idea how you're going to get there. So, this journey that I'm on right now, I'm going to say is a seagull because I have never done a talk show and spilled my heart out. But you know what? It's a seagull, and we're going to get there. And we're going to have thousands of people watching globally, as we already have a global audience. You don't see it, but on the reruns and the replays, we've got a global audience. And that's my seagull. So I've had this huge paradigm shift in my thinking. I know how to overcome obstacles. I know how to overcome my thinking. When I have a negative thought, boom, I don't want to think about that and just change it. So now I live and I've always been a happy, joyful person, but I really am somebody that lives in gratitude. And I really try to think about that every day, how grateful I am for the abundance in my life. I am grateful, and I feel joy to be here. I just enjoy. So with that, I'm going to pass it on to my hero, the person that I want to be like, Ryan.
Thank you, Kat.
Take it away, Ryan.
Amazing. All right. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining again. My story, I'm going to take back to, I guess, high school for now. I was kind of the person that just cruised along through school, and I didn't do bad or excel. I mean, I was more like 75%, just because, I don't know, I felt like it wasn't fulfilling me, though I know we had to do it. I mean, it's just something that we have to go through. And, teachers would come to me and say, oh, if you don't go to college, like the average salary is going to be like $36,000 or something like that. And I don't know if that's what sparked me to try to prove to myself and to the world that that's not true. And you can obtain anything, you don't have to go to college. And I'm not, downplaying college at all, but you don't have to go society's norms to go where you want to go. And I think, after high school, once I started working, I I felt trapped, and I felt like I wasn't moving anywhere. And the thing was, the people around me, like in my specific job, that had no drive to push towards greatness, or to excel, or to move forward at all. And honestly, it made me a little frustrated. It's just like, well, there has to be more. There has to be something. So why can't I be the person to go and find that? So that's when I took some time, and I took that hike, for that first 6-month period. And that's where I tried to discover myself. And like Monty was showing, I was listening to music at first along the trail, and I was like, well, I can use this time to learn. So I downloaded a few audiobooks. One of them was by Napoleon Hill. I believe it was called Grow Rich. And I just listened to it because, out on the trail with hiking, the only focus is food, water, shelter, and your thoughts. Thoughts are the biggest thing. And after listening to that audiobook, it started to open my mind to the idea that anything was possible. And deep down, I knew I believed it, because I believe now that you can achieve anything, and you don't have to go any sort of specific way. You can make your own way, make your own path, and you'll find what you're looking for. And so it started from there, where I started to believe that I could do anything. So then that's when I started to write down my goals, because I heard, I'm not sure what the exact percentages are, but something like 1% of the population writes down their goals daily. And I was like, well, if I want to be different, then I guess I want to go towards that 1%, goal orientation. So ever since then, I started writing down my goals, because I figured, you can't hit a target you can't see. So if I write down my goals, then I'll be able to move towards them. And really, ever since then, once I got back from that first 6-month hike, I read another book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And really that set it in, just like, if I believe it, then I can achieve it. So ever since then, my mindset was never the same, just because to consciously be aware that anything in this world is obtainable and possible, and to settle for anything less than that, it just couldn't be me. So I had to, even now, every day I'm continuously trying to move forward and prove to myself that I can be the person that I want to be, and have what I want to have. And I truly believe that. So it's helped me with my mindset, just being able to move forward and not feel trapped. Anytime I have, negative thoughts, I'm a big fan of this now, just flip it over, and you're in control again. You can change your thoughts at any time. You can change your actions at any time, and you can take control of really anything. I mean, whether it's work, financial, happiness, joy, you are in control of your own life, and nobody can take that away from you. So that's kind of my story there. But yeah, so I mean, a lot of those philosophies have helped me mentally move forward and become the person I am today, and continue growing every day. I believe in manifesting, on one of those trails. As we know, one of my main goals was being a part of a mastermind group, and here we are, working towards greatness. And I'm glad we can take everyone with us, and help everyone believe that they can have anything in this world. On that note, I will send the mic over to Jenna.
Thank you, Ryan and Monty, for the prop. Vanna White in the background there with all the props. I love, in a way, being the last in the line, because I get to hear all of your amazing stories, and I've been taking notes and thinking about, how all of us are so different. It's something that I mentioned on our first live show on Monday, that we're such a diverse group of people, and each one of us in our own ways have felt different, right? Ryan, I love what you said about embracing and deciding and choosing to be different, right? To be the 1%. And I think that's really important. we are a diverse group, but we have overlap and we have intersection and we have connection and alignment. And that's what makes being a part of, a mastermind or a, whatever you want to call this group, this community. It's really powerful to hear those stories and then to see what resonates for each of us and to really understand why we came together and how we came together and how together we are stronger than we are individually. Ryan said something that I thought was really interesting. He said, every day is a new day, that you just keep waking up every day and that you shoot for those goals. And it's something I mentioned on Monday as well. But to me, that hike is, so literal for Ryan, right? He did have to wake up every day and go forward one step at a time because he had to complete that path. He had to make his way on that journey. And I think that one of the things, that is critical to think about, though, is the metaphorical aspect of that. And the fact that, he said he's going from water source to water source on Monday. And he talked today about having, food, water, mindset. And that mindset is so critical. Any athlete, any person who's accomplished great superhuman feats, Milan, will tell you that it was their mindset that got them there. It was their ability to shift into the I can do this, I will do this moment, right? To overcome those paradigms, to overcome those obstacles. My story has been a path filled with obstacles and things to overcome. I started as a child with a lovely family and, a lovely life. And, from the moment I was a teeny beanie, I felt like I had a purpose. And then I was, put into situations where there was abuse and trauma and kind of a breaking down, a wearing away of that, I think, joy and beauty and wholeness and perfectness that you're born with. You're born seeing yourself as beautiful and wonderful, and then life kind of chips away at you, But then I think about, I was just up in the mountains this weekend, and I was near a river, and I love river rocks, and one of the reasons I love river rocks and beach glass and those things is because when you pick them up, they're perfectly smooth and round and beautiful. And so often you can find that one rock that fits perfectly in your hand. And if you think about that, that rock has been tossed and tumbled and rolled around and drowned, and it comes out of that water perfect and smooth and beautiful, and fits perfectly into your hand or into someone else's hand. It fits perfectly in that purpose, and that's how I feel. I feel a bit like a river rock, that I have been tumbled and tossed and jostled and drowned and beat up, and yet I am smooth and I am perfect in every way. And I came to a point, I have several mentors in my life that I've been very, very lucky to know. Some of them were great mentors because they had endured great suffering and taught me, how to still have a light, to still have joy, to still have hope, to still see those goals. I am a poet, and Dennis Brutus was a mentor that I was, very gifted to work with. He was imprisoned with Mandela, and he was, speaking of rocks, he taught me about, he said when he was in prison, what they did to him and Mandela was to have them break rocks every day. That was their only purpose, was to break big rocks into little rocks, because it was purpose, it had no purpose, and to cause them to lose hope. And that he and Mandela put together a mode of communication, and they kept their hope alive. They changed their mindset. They chose to make that task of breaking the big rocks into the little rocks of being a focus point, to use that to break away, the bondage, literally, they were in jail, to break away the despair and the hate, and to hone it down to perfection, to hone it down to that joy. And I think that, he taught me so much about holding hope, about having a vision. I mean, obviously, Mandela came out of prison to lead a country. Dennis Brutus came out of prison to be, a remarkable poet and teacher, professor. And even though he was exiled from his country, when Mandela came back into power, he came back. So he held that hope and it worked for him. That mindset changed things. I also had another mentor who taught me, earlier I said, I talked about that child, the little child who comes into the world whole and perfect, right? The rock that is broken down, that is tossed and tumbled and drowned. And I met a woman named Margaret Paul, and I did a session with her where we closed our eyes and we found the pain inside of our physical body. And we went to that pain and we asked what it was. We asked that inner child, what is that pain about? What is this trauma, this paradigm, this obstacle that you cannot overcome? And when I did that, the answer came, and it came with a whole avalanche of tears and shaking and just this release of pain. It was almost like I had a fever and it broke. And when I recognized that pain, acknowledged it, and then discarded it, let it go, set it free, and reached and grabbed the hand of that inner child. As a responsible adult, I grabbed the hand of that inner child and pulled that child up from the darkness. It reconnected me to who I was, to my purpose, and it made me fall in love with myself. Kat, you said, that now you're perfect. Now you know that you love yourself. Mariposa talked about surviving trauma. Milan talked about finding, himself and loving himself and saying yes to himself. Monty talked about that he can do anything at the beginning of this. And each of you are acknowledging what I learned in that moment, which was when you embrace your inner child, when you reconnect to your purpose, when you shift your mindset away from the negative and you embrace the full power and the full purpose of who you are, everything changes. And it can change in a moment. Some people, it takes a lifetime. It took me 4 decades to get to that point, and it's taken me another decade to get to where I am now. And I just want to let those of you that are here with us and those of you who will be listening to us later, when you're watching this broadcast, know that you have a purpose, you have power, you are perfect, you are loved, and you deserve to be loved. And you have the ability to shift your mindset and to step into that power. And it's something we're going to be talking about a lot in the coming weeks and months. Each of us has, decades of experience. Ryan, maybe not so many decades, but you're an old soul, and you came into this, so bright, so young, and so ready to help those of us who've spent decades trying to get to this point. But I think that the most important thing to know is that we are all perfect, we are all powerful, and we all have the ability to do anything if we just, step into it and change our mindset and shift who we are. It is just about 10 minutes to the hour. And so with that, I just wanted to let you know that we have an open mic. We have muted everyone just during the times, but I'm just gonna ask you all to unmute. I see a couple of hands raised, so I'm gonna be quiet and let you all speak if you have questions, if you have things you want to talk about. Go for it.
Mariposa, you first because your hand is up, but I had to say something because all of you who know me know that I can't be quiet. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, no, I was just going to touch on embracing your inner child, because that is so key in the process of healing, right? So I've done a lot of healing. I help people heal. And we're going to go through those exercises in the coming weeks, is that embracing your inner child, doing your hero's journey, right? It's a self-discovery of understanding that you have everything you need. We are powerful. You are powerful just the way you are. There's nothing that really you need to change except the beliefs that you have about yourself and your, just really that. And that's a change in the programs, right? We've all been programmed by our little self, when we were little till adulthood, what society tells us, what our teachers told us, our friends and family, and even, people we work with, right? But more importantly, it's we can shift all that, we can change all of that, we can become the person we want to be. And it's all right here. It's inside of us. So embracing that inner child, going back and releasing all those toxic thoughts and beliefs to reprogram. The beauty of ourselves is we can reprogram everything and be anything we want. And that's the beauty of this work that we are here to share, to help people through. And we're just so happy and excited that you're here with us today.
Right.
And I'm going to turn it over now to Monty.
Hello, everybody. So I really, really, really feel great. I was a little sad when I first started the call. Every time I mention Bob Proctor's name, every time we speak about him, there's just a flood. I can't even tell you everything that's in the flood. All of it's great. There's just a lot of emotion, like, a lot of emotion. I do want to add that I loved everything that everyone said. Grateful for this team. Also, I want to tell you, just briefly share with you, in addition to what I said when we first began and what I probably didn't get out because I had too many thoughts, is that Bob did change my life. Bob changed my life, not because of his material first, not because of what he was teaching on stage, but because when he was off stage, he was real. When he was off stage, he was compassionate and empathetic and approachable and normal. And he taught me that that's where it starts, right? To develop yourself and remain in the mindset that I don't know, you guys. I thought I was going to be able to.
I can jump in. I think
This time. Okay, let me change the subject.
yeah,
Okay.
Authenticity.
Let me change
That's what
the
it
subject
is.
because I don't want to cry. That's not why we're here. But I do want to say that just studying Bob's material took me from a poverty mindset to a wealth mindset. It took me from believing that I couldn't read well enough to be here. I wasn't smart enough, like I believe maybe Kat said earlier, right? And when I heard Bob say on stage, like this is 2018, the first time I saw him, and he's like, I couldn't read, I was a functioning illiterate. He said, I was just walking around just as dumb. And I was like, oh, that resonates with me completely, right? So, but I wasn't dumb, and neither was he. And he realized it, and then he helped me realize it. And you guys, I can't tell you how gratifying and how special it makes you feel when someone confirms that you're okay.
Yeah,
Right
I
now,
think that's
pardon?
I was gonna say, I think that's so important, Monty, because I think that each of us, and those of you that are joining us, feel free to open your mics if you want to. We have a few minutes left, but
Yeah, we're gonna bring Corey on right now.
yeah,
Corey,
I was
show
gonna
your
say, I
face.
think
Let your mic open, please, sir. Thank you. Hi, everybody. This is
Hello.
hey,
This
Hello.
is, I'm really close to him in DNA, right? He's my brother's son. And
he
he's
has
the
more hair than
father
you.
of two.
Yeah, I
He's
got a little bit.
a remarkable young man. Corey, say hello to the panel.
This is my son, Kobe. This is
Hi,
my-
oh, hello, boys.
Oh.
Yes. Oh my God. Hello, Corey.
Uncle Monty.
Introduce yourself, Corey. You're muted. You are muted. It happens to the best of us.
Okay, there we go.
Hi, Mariposa. I see you got guests too.
Hey, my name is Corey Exon. I'm 30 years old. I'm a father of two boys right here. Love them to death. They're my best friends. I've been trying to find my way in life recently. I've been a little confused, a little depressed, so I've been trying to figure out what I want to do in my life, and I know it's financial freedom. That's what I want. I want to be able to move how I want to move. I want to be able to do what I want to do in life. And I feel like this group is gonna teach me a lot. Like I feel like it's gonna really open my eyes to a lot of stuff.
You are in the right
Milan,
place. Corey.
Yes.
yeah.
for sure.
Milan will tell
Thank
you, and I'll let Milan tell you himself, but he always says, once you say your goal, once you say what you want, then it happens. And he always says, of course it does. Of course it does.
Of course
And
it
I'm
does.
learning these things from all of you guys.
Correct.
Pardon?
Milan.
Yeah, Terry was saying that she's
Look.
learning so much from all of us. But speaking of financial freedom, Corey, and on our Facebook page, we just uploaded yesterday, actually, in the resources section, a document on the laws of opulence. And it's really about, the abundance that's yours by birthright, just because you're here. Like it's for you to have opulence and abundance in all things, from, the abundance of love that you have for your boys to, an abundance of dollars in your bank account, like that abundance is yours. And I really implore you to check out that document. It's just a handful of pages, but it's really powerful, simple information. And it's information like that helped me to just say, okay to the abundance, and not necessarily have to figure it all out, but just say, okay, this is for me. It's like if you tell your boys, hey, we're going to go to the park today, they don't care how it happens.
Right.
They just say, okay.
Say it
Right.
again. They don't care how it happens, the how, right?
And it's just that simple, like when you can get back to that as an adult, to just say okay to these gifts that are for you, then then your expectations are raised, and you just say okay to more and okay to more, and it just starts happening because your expectations are raised. And then it becomes like a fun game of, well, what can I think about next? What can I say okay to next? Because once it starts happening, then,
Like how can I use
it'll
this
never-
magic again, right?
right. And
That
that's the
cat
good
had her
thing,
hand up.
that it's so repeatable. No
Mhm.
matter where you are, no matter who you are, no matter what you're doing, it's repeatable as soon as you just choose to say okay.
Right.
One of the things that I was learning from Milan, I am also very, very blessed to be Milan's mother.
I'm finna say, wait a minute, we finna get it started. I see Bird. I was like, okay, Miss Bird, how you doing?
So I am very blessed to be his mother, and I know
Oh, she's
he is finally saying she's listening. She's listening. One of the things that you all resonated, but what I heard from Ryan, and it was like, okay, you can just pick yourself up off the floor when this is all over with, is, and you all writing down your goals, but doing them. Milan may tell you, I have had to deal with procrastination all my life. I don't know where it came from or how it came, but my mother was very goal oriented, but she was also a perfectionist. So what I learned from Jenna is I've got to reach down in to find that child and pull her up from that or perfect in your own way, and then go on, because there is so much in me that I want to give. And I'm like Monty, I'm the one that's going to cry, but I'm not going to do that now.
We'll save
Because
it. There'll be a
I
time.
am going to start writing these goals down, and not just achieving them for myself, but achieving them for the kids that I care for that you hear in the background, and for myself, and to help my family reach that goal. So I thank you all, especially Lord Milan.
Yes.
Look at
Terry, I
Milan.
can see that.
Oh my God, don't make me cry, Terry. Listen, I'm gonna be quiet, but Milan, I love you, and I'm gonna
So
love you for
beautiful.
a reason. I didn't know it was because of your mom until now. Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Terry, you sound like you're a nurturer, which also means sometimes you can be a caretaker, which means you put yourself last, and sometimes you give so much that you have nothing left for yourself. So
Okay,
Be
Jenna,
sure-
were you in my therapy session the other day? Because you just
No,
quoted
that's me.
my therapist.
I think we need to talk. But what I would say is, be a nurturer, but don't be a caretaker, meaning, give that well is eternal, but just tap into that inner child and into that, higher access to learning, to, the higher calling, the higher spirit, and you will have boundless energy, because your love is something that never ends. And as long as you are loving yourself and coming from that perfect inner child, it'll never dry up. And, you know, you'll just keep finding that energy and that abundance. And we're so grateful to you for bringing us Milan. He's amazing. He's an amazing, amazing, amazing man.
Milan has been that way since birth. First of all, by law standard, he wasn't supposed to be here, but God said otherwise. Then at 3 weeks, they said he's done, and God said otherwise. So I have learned from that child my entire life. I am continuing to learn, and he's finally going, she's listening. So I thank you all for the platform, what you're doing. And Ryan, I have some goals to write down today.
Good to hear.
So
Water source to water source, right?
Water source to water source.
That we have 1 minute left. I wanted to say something about money and the law of attraction and the law of attraction period. I told my nephew, Corey, you get what you think about. If you continue to think about the negative, what's going to be in the forecast, Mariposa? Please.
Negative.
And what will
result.
you be receiving all the time?
Same, more of the same.
More of the same. So if you think about what you want, come on, Kat, what is that, honey? What you got?
As a man thinketh.
As a man thinketh. But Corey, I want to tell you something. We do these cards. They're called Money and the Law of Attraction. And what I do is I fan them, you pick a card, and then I read it to you, okay? So what's going to happen today is we're going to try to trigger a way to change your mindset and give you something else to think about. So pick a card. Tell me when to stop, nephew.
Stop.
Okay, now which one you want? This one or this one?
Right there. Yep.
Okay, cool. So now, friends, we're going to read this. And this says, I want to harmonize with my desire. I want
Awesome.
to harmonize with my desire. Let me get some glasses because, you know, I just look young and pretty. Hello. All right. Anytime you feel negative emotion, stop and say, anytime you feel negative emotion, stop and say, something is important here. Otherwise, I would not be feeling the negative emotion. Now, let me show you how source works because you picked this card. Now, check this out. Anytime, that's anytime, day, night, anytime you feel negative emotion, stop and say, something's important here. Otherwise, I would not be feeling the negative emotion. What is it that I want? That's the question you ask yourself. And then simply turn your attention to what you do want. In the moment you turn your attention to what you want, the negative attraction, that's what you're bringing in. It's like you're setting the table for BS. Don't do it. The negative attraction will stop. Doesn't mean it's going to go around the corner and hide. It's going to stop until you reintroduce it, right? And in the moment the negative attraction stops, this is the beauty. The positive attraction will begin. And in that moment, your feeling would change from not feeling good to feeling good. That is the process of pivoting. Go Google search pivot and do that every day. Walk around like a ballerina in your mind and pivot. What's the thing? Your toes and do that, Corey, and pivot because it's up to you. And you have the power within, and so does everyone else listening. And that's my nephew, and I'm partial to him. We share a lot of DNA. Okay.
Except the hair. Right? Oh my gosh.
Chime in.
Yeah.
Bless you.
Yeah. So Corey, Terry, we're so grateful that you are here with us. And for those of you watching, you know, through other means, we hope that you had some fun with us today. We're just getting started, so please join us again. We are so grateful to have you all, and I guess our time is up. We could do this for hours and hours and hours. So join us again.
I love the camera. The camera loves me. Sorry.
We'll meet again on
Guys,
Friday.
Thank you all.
Join us
Corey, hey,
Friday.
can I ask Corey if he has
Friday.
anything in 10 seconds? Corey, you got 10 seconds. You got any response?
No, not right at the moment.
No,
Yeah.
I do, and I'm very grateful and thankful for you all.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you,
gorgeous.
Terry.
Yeah, I
Come back on
Terry.
Friday if you can.
did all that, man. Thank y'all so much.
Sure.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a
Thank
blessed
you.
day.
Bye, everyone.